Okay, so the whole idea here is that your story can be a book. All right, you all actually, in my opinion, have many books in each of you. There are stories to share, but it's a process, and it's not an easy process to get that story out. So what we've got is 4 people up here who have lived their books. They gleaned their education from life. And what they're doing is sharing and helping others who walk very often in a similar path. Not the same, because we're all different. What has changed in your life since you wrote? What is different now? Anything different? How did you find this experience? Did you find it good therapy? Did you find it frustrating? Are you any different because you're holding that book right now for the world to go into and learn from you? So let's see if this made a difference in your life.
My first book was my book about my childhood, and I had a very hard childhood, and in writing it, when you write a book, you don't write it once. You write it, and then you read it, and then you rewrite it, and then you rewrite it, and then someone reads it, and they tell you, oh, no, it's wrong. You got to fix this. Or by the time I was done, all of my memories were no longer inside of me and haunting me. They were now contained in this book, and I didn't have to hold on to them anymore. With my second book, I decided from the beginning that I wanted it to be more lighthearted than the first. The first book's very heavy. And with this, so oftentimes we have stories that can be told 2 ways, like the tragic way or the funny way. And I decided to look for the funny way to tell stories. And this book started as a blog, and I would watch the kids, because kids are such a great source of free material, I have to be honest. And I would look for the happy story and the funny moment. And I was someone that was really very depressed for most of my life. And writing humorous stories, I think it changed my mind to look for the positive and to appreciate the small smiles that you find in day-to-day life. And I think it's made me a much happier person. It also made me a more present parent, because instead of, surfing the internet or whatever, I was watching the kids to see what they would say. And it allowed me to focus more on us as a family.
I don't think I'm any different at all. I'm just one of those really candid people who just say whatever I feel. I read a book years ago, another metaphysical author, Terry Cole Whitaker, and the title of the book is What You Think of Me Is None of My Business. People say, wasn't that the other way around? I said, no. What you think of me is none of my business. So I've probably read that book 3 times. I probably need to read it maybe again. But that's kind of like what I believe in life. Whatever I do, or what you think about what I do, or people you meet on the bus or at work or anywhere, whatever they're thinking and how they're reacting to you is their thing, and it's really none of my business. Because if I worry about that, which I do, I'm sensitive. I'm a Cancer. I'm an astrologer too, so I know all about those signs. And I'm a Cancer, very sensitive. But I learned that if I worried about everything everybody thought or said, I'd be in the Looney Tune. Then I'd be writing another book about life in the Looney Tune. So I really don't think life has changed much for me. The book is real, it's life, it's humorous, like you said, because you got to learn how to laugh at all the tragic things that go on in your life. A good mentor, a friend of mine said, oh, there's no way that somebody could think you made this up. It's too bizarre, it has to be real. And that's really what life is. It's bizarre. And if it's bizarre, you think nobody could ever make this up. It's got to be real. So life hasn't changed much. I just wrote it, I don't know, because a lot of stuff was going on, and like you, I write a blog, and I love to write, and I'm a storyteller. That's you made me laugh when you said that, Dr. T, because when somebody asks me a question, like my girlfriend might say, so what color dress did you wear to the party? Well, 20 minutes later, she's like, Eva, I just wanted to know what color dress you wore. I'm like, well, there's a story behind it. I can't just say blue. And I never realized why I did that. But people are always very frustrated because I can't answer a question. And I never knew why that was. And then one day I realized, it's because I'm a writer. When you write, you just don't say, went to the party. There's a whole story. So when you ask me a question, unfortunately, I'm telling a story, and it might take me 20 minutes to get to the point. And then I might say, what was the question again? Because I forgot. So I hope that answered your question. My life hasn't changed at all. I still write, I'm still candid, and I try not to let what other people think bother me too much.
You know, putting myself out there because of the nature of the story was it was just a new experience for me. I wasn't used to sharing my personal stuff and putting it out there. And, you know, of course, you know, everybody in the world's going to read it. And so they're going to know all your stuff. And I guess I learned to kind of get past that and to get past my own little insecurities about the whole affair. Writing it was very cathartic, as I mentioned before. And I think looking back at my experience a number of years later gave me the opportunity to have a different perspective on it and to really continue the grieving process and sort of get it out of my system to a point. You know, I mean, I don't know that you're ever done grieving. There's always things that, you know, trigger you as far as people that have been in your lives. But it was a good experience in that respect. And you know, as far as me being a different person, I guess I feel more confident now. I have a new hat that I wear now, you know, author hat, which I never thought I would have, but here I am, you know, and just everything that entails, you know, putting yourself out there, coming to events like this, you know, and talking about your experience. So I guess confidence is a big thing that has changed with me a little bit.
Deborah, did you find it helpful? Did you find it therapeutic at all? It's like the coping and the grieving of losing your husband to cancer and all that you went through. As you wrote about it and shared it with the world, did you find that this is helping me to share my story?
Yeah. I think, you know, the more, I mean, first of all, I shed mountains of tears writing the whole story and reliving. I found that I could go back to certain instances and just, you know, I mean, even surprised me. And it was really good for me in that respect, just to kind of get, you know, it makes me feel lighter now just to know that I have put it in a different light, you know, and we all do that, you know, the further away you get from something, the different perspectives that you have as far as looking at life and what you think about it. So,
you know, I had a long career working that involved writing. I was a lawyer, so I did a lot of writing in legal type things. And when I retired and I decided to do creative writing, I very quickly realized that I had some barriers I had to overcome, because to me, going back to writing, I would think back in high school and college when I would have a course and it would be, oh, I've got to write 10 pages and it's due next Friday. Or I got to write 15 pages on the Civil War, you know, and I have to have footnotes. And so in my mind, I associated writing with being forced to live with deadlines and being told how long that it had to be or it should be. And I realized there was a subtle, not to say anger, but just like a resistance. You know, well, you know, don't tell me when it's due. Don't tell me how long it has to be. You know, if that's what you're going to do, I'm not going to write. So when I began to write creatively, the first thing I had to do is realize that I was in charge of the schedule. I was in charge of how long the document was going to be. I was in charge of when I was ready to start writing. And when I did that, and coming back to my installments with my unicorn friends, you know, I had to learn to just relax and, you know, think about what's happened in the story, and maybe I'd wake up in the morning and I'd get an idea about what the next event should be. So it became a natural process that came up out of my subconscious and became an expression of what I wanted to say, what I wanted the characters to say and do and achieve. And it wasn't being imposed on me by teachers or professors or people like that. And I found it was so much more satisfying, because when I was putting myself in touch with what I really emotionally felt should happen next in the story, it was so much easier to write. it would write itself, because I knew what I wanted to say, and I was excited about, what Penelope was going to be doing and what Sassy Pants had to say. And it was just, it was so much more rewarding to be writing according to my own inner desires and expressions, instead of having it imposed on me by anyone else. So I'm very grateful for being able to reach this point in writing to free myself from those old boundaries.